Hey everyone, here's how you can build your own AI executive assistant inside of Slack. And to be honest, can be inside anything. Can be Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, Teams, doesn't matter. And it will give you meeting recaps and the action points from those meetings, the calls that you have for the day, the tasks and to-do lists that you need to do for the day, and anything else that you want to build on top of it. So I'm going to show you step by step how to do this. The first thing is here I'm going to show you how to create the app itself. That will give you all the information. Then after creating the app itself, I'm going to show you how to create the commands to get the tasks and calls for the day. So for example, if you do / and then calls, you'd request the assistant to give you all the calls for today. And the same thing for tasks. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to create these meeting notes notification plus how to prompt the AI to give you exactly all the notes in the format that you want with the information that you want, because since we are building the AI itself, we can do whatever we want with this. So let's get started first with how to create the Slack app itself. So for this, as you can see, this is an app that in our case it's called Livia. It's our executive assistant inside Scaling Studio, and it gives us a bunch of things, but we need to create it first, otherwise we're not going to get anything. So inside Slack, you go to api.slack.com/apps. You're going to see this here. If you already have an app, you will see it. If not, you need to create a new app. You can go from scratch, and then we're going to give a name. So in this case, let's give it Test Executive Assistant, and you select the workspace where you want the app to be installed. All right, then you're going to have a bunch of information and things. Here you can select, for example, the name of the app, some description, icons, etc., the logo for it, and the main points that matter to us is going to be the / commands, of course, and where is it? Here, the open authorization and the permissions, because we need to give some bot token scopes in order for the bots or the app to be able to send messages and read the messages that we're asking it to do. So this is how you build the app, and let's start with the commands. So before I show you how to create the commands, you need to know that we're going to be using make.com for the automations, and this is the automation for those / commands. And I'm going to show you how to build it exactly. So if you log into Make and you don't see anything because you go into Make, you go to scenarios, and you're going to have add new scenario or create a new scenario, and you're going to have a blank page with a module like this. You're going to click on this button, and you're going to select webhooks and then custom webhook. And then from the custom webhooks, you're going to add and you're going to select a name. So in your case, it can be like / commands. You can give the bot name also. And let's just put here so that you can see. You're going to get a link or a URL. And this URL, you need to copy it. And you go now to the page of the Slack. For the Slack bots, we go for Slack commands, create a new command. And here on the request URL, we're going to paste that URL. And then we start with the command. So we want to know what calls we have for the day. We're going to do / calls. You can give a description. So this is the description that you see here. Get all calls for today. And then you can also do this. It's like a hint for the usage, but to be honest, doesn't matter much. We can save, and this will be done. So now every single time, well, not exactly yet, you'll see why, but every single time you do this command, you would trigger the automation here, this webhook, and this would be like this. So you would trigger the webhook every time that command gets called. Let's delete this and show you something else. So for this to work, we need also to install the app on the workspace. So you need to install it to whatever workspace name you have here, because once you create it, it doesn't get automatically installed in your channels or in your workspace itself. But before we install it, you should also add the authorizations that I talked here. So we created that slash command. If you want, you can also add the to-do command and other ones. It's exactly the same way as you saw here. And you always use, well, it's not mandatory, of course, but if you want, always use the same webhook, so that then we just create in one make scenario, we create all the different commands that are possible. If we start having a lot of different commands, and when I say a lot, depends on also the amount of tasks that it will do here inside make. But if it starts to be really too much, 20, 30, 40, you would do new scenarios. Let's just take these ones out and do it like this. All right, so the authorizations that we need. We go here, so as you can see, it already automatically added the commands one because we created that one. And let's add also, so we want this to be able to write into our channels. So we need written permissions. So let's go here, and I've also, where is the channel, right? So send messages as test. And I think we don't need it for public ones, and I think just this right will be enough for us. Yeah, we will not going to use it for groups. So if you want to use it in groups, in DMs, and in public channels, then you will need to add these rights for all the things that you want. So write public, you have groups, you have DMs or private messages. Well, you see what I mean. For this one, let's just keep it simple and do the chat right. After you do all of this, either if you haven't installed already, you install it. I'm not going to do it because this is just a test one. But if you had previously installed it and you add new authorizations, you will have to reinstall the app again every single time you add new things. So that's how you would add these token authorizations. Then, once that is done, you would be good. We're going to do one last thing here for the rights, but let's go step by step. So let's say we want the calls thing. We would have this webhook that gets triggered once we do a call, right, with the command. So something like this, okay. And this would trigger the webhook. And then we have to select what command we're using, right? Because if we're using multiple commands for this, we need to filter which one we're going to use. So for that, we use a router. So if you had a thing from the beginning, you would click on the plus icon, search for router, click on it, and then it will automatically have two options. You can add more, you can remove by either right click and delete, or if you do shift and then select stuff, you can also delete them. And then the first one would be the call. So we would add the Google Calendar. So you search for this, you search for Google Calendar. It was already there, but just to show you. And then you want to search for events. Now, the important thing is here on the filter, we need to add it, as you can see here, we need to add that, well, I'm going to show you on this one because this one already triggered. But once you trigger it, you're going to see here all the information from it. And we want it to be like, we want to know the command. So this would be like this, without anything. We would look for what is the command, here it is. And then we want it to be equal to calls. You can also do, if you don't want to have the slash, you can say that it contains, and then you just say that it contains calls. It doesn't matter, it's your personal preference. I prefer to have it like this because I prefer to have with a slash and equal to, because maybe I will have one for calls, general calls, I don't know, sales, and it's better to have equal to whatever I want to search for. And then we start adding stuff. So as you can see, I added my Google Calendar. You need to create here the connection. So you add your own connection. It will ask you to log in. Then you choose the calendar you want to use. And then, since I want the calls for the day, I choose where the start date is now and the end date is tomorrow. So how we do this is we need to format dates. So as you can see here in Make, we can do some formatting and some formulas. So we would go to this one with the calendar, which is for the date and time. We click Format Date, and then we need to select the date we want, which would be now, because it's the time we are triggering this event. And then I passed the formatting as day, month, and year. And so you just pass it there the same way. Now, for the end date, how these search events on Google Calendar works is it always shows the midnight hour. So I want this to be the next day, or I just want this to be today, so I want the next day at midnight. But the midnight is the start of the day, obviously. So what we do is we format the date again, but we need to add this formula here, which is adding a day to today time. So the today would have one more day, which is tomorrow, and it would pass again the day, month, year formatted. And then you have to limit this. So the default one is 10, but you have more than 10 calls for the day. It would limit. So you would want to put 100. I hope you don't have 100 calls per day. So that limit should be good enough. Then after that, we need to, if we want to pass a message on Slack with all the calls, we need to do this thing here, because otherwise we will only get one of the calls. So the first thing is we grab what Google Calendar gives us, and we on the source module we select Google Calendar, and then for the fields we only want the summary, which is the title of the event, and we want the start time. If you want more information, just feel free to select whatever other information you want. But for this example, it's just these two that we need. So we are aggregating these into an array because it's not an array. And then we iterate through that array. And I'm not going to go super in depth into this. You can check other videos that I have on my YouTube channel that go a bit more in depth, but this is basically what you need to do. We're going to, since we have an array with a bunch of dates and titles, we are going to iterate one by one. So we iterate and we choose this array here. And we're going to go one by one and aggregate all of that text using this text aggregator. So all of these, you just search for their names when you add stuff. You just search for their names here on the search box. We go for text aggregator. And then here is how we create that message that you see on Slack. So we have here the title and the time. And since this will be going to Slack, I know that I need to put some Slack formatting. And the formatting is in Markdown. So bolds, we do it with this little thing. And for spaces, or not spaces, new line breaks, for each new line, we do this formatting part. So the title, I passed the summary. So as you can see, the iterator gives us the start and the summary because it's the only things we selected from Google Calendar. And I just put here, so I would write title and then click on summary. And then on the time, again, I format the date because this gives us, as you can see here, it's in Portuguese, but it's 11 January 25 and time. I just want the hour and the minutes because I know this is already for today. So I format the date like you saw us doing here previously, but I select only hour and minutes. And then I add these new lines because what this will do is an aggregator of text. So this will grab the first one, do this, then again we'll grab the second one, do this, then the third one, then the fourth one, and however many calls it has, it will repeat. And we'll aggregate everything into one single text, which we will output into the message we want to send to the channel. So that message, we do this HTTP request module because we are using the API of Slack and the bots that we just created. And so here is what we do. You have to put this on the URL, which is the API call to send a Slack message with the bot. The method is post. Then you have to add these little headers here. Don't worry, just copy paste this and you'll be good to go. The thing that you have to retain is here on the authorization. After bearer, instead of the three dots, you need to go to Slack. And once this is installed, hopefully I don't have to install it. Let's see. I have to, right? Well, I will not. Once this is installed, if you go to install app or the authorization and permissions, you will have here a token for the app. So you'll have like a token like these ones. Let me show you. Something like this, like a bunch of letters and numbers. And it will look like this, XOXV dash, and then a bunch of things. You will copy that from either install app or authorization. It will be here, that number, once you install it. And you paste it here after the bearer part. So instead of these three dots. Content type, put it like this. And then the important thing is the body type raw. content type JSON, and we're going to pass a JSON information to the bot so that it publishes our message. So we select the channel where we want to publish, and how we do this is this formatting part here. I'm going to show you how to create your own, but the channel, we want it to be the same channel where we did the message, right? It makes sense. If you want to just do it in a single channel, you can just put the channel ID. So you go here, click on the channel name you want, and then go channel ID, you copy and you paste it where you want it. But I want it to be always the channel that's where the person did the call. So I go here and click on channel ID. After that, I have this block section, which is the message part that you see here. So these blocks is, there's a very easy way to build this. So as you can see, there's two blocks. There's this one, which is the header, and this one that is the section. And how you can build this, and to be a bit more visual, is through this block kit builder. So if I open this in a new tab, because I'm going to show you this for the second part of the video, you're going to see this like, let's do it like this. This is how you see once you build this for the first time. Okay. Okay, forget it. I'm going to clear the blocks. Once you have this for the first time here, this is what I wanted. You're going to see it with an example. And you see here the visual, how it will look like on Slack. And this is basically the payloads code that you have to use. You can clear the blocks and start building your own using these buttons here. So let's say we want to start with the header. And after the header, we want a message. So we would go for, let's say we want markdown. And because the markdown lets us do the bold, links, etc. And so here is where you would add it. So on the header, you would say calls for today. And the markdown, to be honest, you don't need to do lots or anything at all, because we are already pulling from the tools here. Remember the aggregator. So this gives you an idea, so you can build anything here. The sky's the limit. I'll show you more on the meeting booked one, but the sky's the limit of what you can do here. You can add buttons, images. It's very good. You can add images, big images like this. So yeah, the sky's the limit. Now, you can see that I only have calls for today, and then here are your calls for today. These two new lines, as you know that we have to use it for markdown, and then I just pass the text that was created on the text aggregator. Simple, super simple and easy. This is how you create that first message, and then you repeat exactly the same for the to-do list. You can use a to-do list, you can use a project management. So if you are using project management in Airtable, you just switch this with an Airtable module, or I don't know, ClickUp module. You just use whatever app you use for your tasks. And then same thing, you would do an array aggregator, you iterate through that array. And here on this one, I filter to have the dates that are exactly today, because we only want the tasks for today. So as here, I format the date of the due date, and then I say that it has to be earlier than or equal to today, so that we catch the to-dos for today and the to-dos that weren't done in the previous days. Then again, we aggregate everything just like we did on the previous one, and same thing, same type of structure, just change the header to tasks for today, and we pass literally the text that we created on the aggregator. It sounds complicated, but it's not at all. And it's literally just copying, pasting what is here and doing the same thing for all new commands you want it to do. So that part is super straightforward, and that's how you can build this part. Now, let's go into how to build the meeting notes notification and the AI to be able to grab all the notes. So this is a new or a different scenario, and there's two ways you can do this. There is, depending on the tool that you use to take the meeting notes. So if you use, for example, I don't think they have any here, but if you use Fathom, not any other tool for taking notes that is not TLDV, you can likely use the webhooks. You can also use webhooks with TLDV if you're paying for the maximum plan. I am not. I use TLDV. I only pay for the pro plan, so I have to do it with this way, which is I use Slack because they have an integration with Slack, TLDV, as you can see here. and I trigger every single time there's a new transcript. Slack is exactly the same thing as make. It's just to automate stuff. And you can, it's super intuitive, just like make. You just do what you want to trigger and then the steps that you want to happen after. Now, this is one way to do it if you don't have webhooks sent directly from the app. If you have webhooks sent directly when a meeting finishes, you just need this webhook part. You copy the URL for the webhook, and inside whatever note-taking tool you use, you will paste it. If you already use a note-taking tool, you will know where to paste this. And then if you don't have webhook, you need to do these two steps instead of it. So here's how I do it. Every single time there's a new transcript in TLDV, what I do is I trigger it and I create a new Google Doc with the transcript. So here in Zapier, I do this step of creating document from text. Then the document name, I pass the meeting name of TLDV. So you can see here, just like make, you just click and it's here. And the document contents, I just put the transcript in plain text. Super simple, easy, it's done, and this is all I need. This, every single time there's a new transcript, like a call is ended on TLDV, a transcript gets created, it gets added to this, well, not this, but it gets added to a folder with transcript notes. Now, what we do here on Make is we add a scenario, or sorry, we add a module to watch files in a folder, right? So every single time a new file gets added to a folder, we trigger this scenario. Well, we don't actually trigger it because it's going to be at regular intervals, not every single time something happens, but we'll get there. So what we do here is we add these watch files in a folder. We watch files by created time, and then we just choose where that folder is. So in my case, for this example, is in contents, videos, automate, meeting notes, because this was another video. And then the files that we want to see are Google Docs, because you may add other files into this folder. And we limit for 2 at a time. You can limit for 100 again, doesn't matter. You're only going to have, hopefully, one meeting at a time. So you could put one, but I just put 2. Then what happens here is every single time there's a new file here, it will grab it. And then we add this get content of a document. So we just add the Google Docs module to get the content that is inside that file. So because here is going to be like, okay, let's grab this file. And then the second module is let's open the file and grab the text that is inside of it. So all of this text will be grabbed. Once that is done, we pass to ChatGPT. So you can use ChatGPT, you can use Claude. Claude is actually much better, or a bit better than ChatGPT at this from my experience. But since I already have this one here for the example, I'm going to show you. So let's load this. All right. So here you would select the create a completion prompt and the model that you would want to use. In Claude, you'd want to use the Sonnet. So Claude Sonnet would be good. In ChatGPT, you can use the for a latest system, which is the same one that you would use if you go to ChatGPT and write in the Pro plan at least. And then here you would start adding 2 messages. So the first one is an assistant message. So this is the message for the assistant. You can also do system message. Is going to take it the same way, to be honest. And then we add a prompt. So here is the prompt we are using. Let me put this a bit bigger. So we give the context to the agent. So you are an advanced meeting assistant specializing in summarization and extraction of key insights from meeting transcripts. Your primary goal is to deliver concise, structured updates, blah, blah, blah. Your output must be formatted in Slack Markdown format because we are sending this to Slack, remember? So the key output structure. We want the summary, and then we explain what we want the summary to be. Client challenges, action points, and dates to remember. So any dates or deadlines mentioned. This is where you start to structure exactly what you want the final output to be. So this is personal, and you add as much or as few as you want to add here. Then we do some instructions for the format. So use Slack Markdown with bold section titles, bullet points like this, and be clear. And then we should always give, again, the final output format. So it's the agents work very well with examples of the formats that you want the output to be. So we just give him like this. So the title, and then what we want to pass, again, with these Slack markdown formats. And then, sorry, this went out. We pass the whole output as we want it. So let's wait for this to open. All right. We pass the whole output as we want. Then the second message is just to show the transcript. So this would be the user message. So this would be like the prompt that you'd write in ChatGPT itself. And we pass, here's the meeting transcript. Please provide a summary. And again, we just recap a bit of what we asked. Same thing, just follow the exact format and style. You should always emphasize that you really want the same format as you did before. If there's nothing, just put in unnoted. And then we add the transcript. So transcript, and then we add the contents of the doc, the Google Doc that was just grabbed on the previous step. And that would be it. You can leave this as this and as default. Click OK. This will generate the output. And finally, just like in the previous make scenario, we add one HTTP request to send the message to Slack. So this is here another test one that I did before. So you can see that it would look like this. And then if you go down, we can see that we have a new additional stuff. So we have this channel that we wanted to send. So this is the specific channel you want. So it can be the meeting transcripts channel or meeting summaries, doesn't matter. You put the channel ID here, the header, so meeting notes of, and I pass the title of the Google Doc. And as you remember the title, we pass like what the call is about. And then we pass here on Markdown just the result of ChatGPT because we asked it to do the result in Slack Markdown format. Now, this passes what you're seeing here, exactly like this. An additional thing that you can do, which is what I say the sky's the limit with this, is you can add more actions with this block kit builder. So I have this one here. So meeting notes, I just copied and pasted exactly what was here. That's why you see these variables, because they are make variables, but we would have the title here and we would have here the summary of the result. And then we can add this button to, in this case, for example, notify the team. So if you'd want to notify your team that maybe this is a meeting that is important and you want them to go check the summary, the recap, whatever it is that you want them to see, you would click the button. This button would be on Slack. And as soon as you click the button, an action happens. And how would this action happen? So you would pass here the text for the button, and then you need to pass the value and the action ID. The action ID usually will tell us what the action is about, so notify team, and the value you add usually a value that is related to the action you want to do. In this case, what you can do is pass the channel in which the message was sent. So we can copy this channel and pass the channel ID on the value so that the team gets notified on this channel. So this would be how to create the meeting notes. And then if you want to do another one for these channel notifications to notify the team, you need to create a new scenario in Make that has a webhook again. And that webhook is going to look for interactions with buttons. And those interactions with buttons are here again inside the bot that you created, interactivity and shortcuts. So you'd need to turn this on, and then you paste here the URL of this webhook here. So again, this is just a test URL, but you copy it and you paste it here. And so, all right, didn't paste, okay. And so you would save the changes, and every time there's an interactivity with the buttons, selections, whatever it is, it will trigger this webhook. So how do you do this? And I have a video on my YouTube channel going over how to create it. As you can see, there was already an example here, but I'm going to go super quickly just for you to know on this video. This will pass a very bad format. Let me see if I can show you. It will pass like this. You will not be able to read it well, so we need to parse it to JSON. So we add this module of JSON parse JSON, and we put here the payload from the webhook. Once that is done, we start selecting what is the action that happened. So for example, here on this previous one, I have the actions, and I want this send proposal. So this was for a send proposal action. On this to notify the team, we would put the actions as notify team. and this would route it to this scenario. And then you just can, if it's to just notify the team and not do any other action, you can just have, again, one of those HTTP modules to send a Slack message, like here, and you just put here on the markdown, for example, hey team, check check the recap above. So these will be sent immediately after this because you just click the button, and then you can identify them. So you do a new lines, right, like this, and you identify the team by doing channel. And as you know, there's that channel, that there's this channel thing here. You can, this is how you do that thing on make or on that HTTP request module. So this channel thing would do that. The whole channel will be notified. If you want, you can just identify some people, which you would do by doing an @ and then the users, each user has some set of numbers for them. So you'd select the user, but yeah, for channel, it's like this. And the team will be notified every single time you click that button. So yeah, this was a big one, and I hope it was useful to you, and I hope you can do this on your own business. If so, like the video and follow me on my socials, because I'll be continuing to create content around how to improve business operations and systems using AI, automation, and data. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you tomorrow.